Welcome, Greek U Nation, to episode number 673 of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Mike Eilon, CEO of Greek University. I'm a speaker and an author. Our ninth book just came out. It's called From Letters to Leaders, The Legacy of Service. So I want you to go and pick up that book on Amazon today. We call these episodes the Fraternity Foodie Podcast because there is nothing like great food to bring college students together. Fun fact, today we are going to be talking a little bit more about financial literacy. And I think this is one of the most important topics we can possibly discuss with college students, especially I'm thinking about student athletes as well. Now that they're earning NIL money, the question is, who's speaking to the student athletes about how to manage their money and how to set them up for success over their entire career? We have to start that early, and that's why Candice is going to be on our show today. Candice Schultz was working in her father's butcher shop at age 10, where she discovered her natural talent for math and business, eventually earning her degree from Michigan State University, one of my favorite campuses to speak at. Her path has been fueled by a desire to explore and reshape financial patterns and build a sense of stability and confidence. For well over 2 decades, she worked as a financial consultant, guiding clients through personal and financial milestones. In 2022, she became a certified life coach and soon after a certified Enneagram practitioner, which is a powerful self-awareness tool that supports emotional intelligence and personal growth. Candice now enjoys coaching the whole person, not just their relationship with money. Welcome to the show, Candice.
Thank you, Michael. Glad to be here.
Hey, it is a pleasure to have you on the show. I know you were going to help so many college students today, so I
That's
was
my goal.
pumped when I woke up today. So I'm so happy you're here.
Let's talk money.
Let's talk money. Absolutely. Before we get to money, which I know is something you get really excited talking about, you chose Michigan State for your undergraduate experience, which is green too. Why
It
Michigan
is.
State?
I just love the campus. I fell in love with the campus as soon as I came on it and decided that's where I was going. And it had a good business school, and I knew that's kind of the direction I was going in. So
Yeah,
it
that
did me
makes so
well.
much sense. I mean,
Michigan
and
State.
the student engagement with the sports and what a beautiful campus that it really is. I mean, it's got
Hmm.
so much going for it. I mean, last time I was there was probably about 6 months ago, and I could have stayed there a week and just had the time of my life. So, congratulations. That is a
Thank you. I always enjoyed the people there too. That was great.
yeah, the people are fantastic. Now, obviously, you've spent now over 25 years as a financial advisor. You now work as a life and financial coach. So, what first made you realize that young adults are entering adulthood without really understanding how money works?
So you're gonna laugh at this one because the reality is you can be t talking to 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds, and they still might not know how money works.
Mhm.
So it's not really about the age, it's just about not being taught.
Yeah,
So if we are taught younger, they're gonna start younger, and that's gonna be the big issue. Like let's just start talking about money now.
I mean, why is that though? I mean, it seems like, we have all these college students, they're going to great schools like Michigan State, getting great educations, but nobody teaches them how to balance a checkbook. Like what is going on? Why is that?
The schools don't teach it, for one. So we learn all these subjects. We learn, we're going to classes, we're learning English, we're learning math, we're learning history, but we're not learning money. And so if we're not doing it and the home isn't teaching it, like the parents aren't talking about it. And part of that is parents didn't talk about money either in their past. Money is not an open dialogue. So that's one issue. We're not even talking about it. The second one is you can say the same thing to five different people, and they're going to interpret it very differently. Because as much as money is just a logical and you can teach literacy, the emotional side and what I'm going to absorb of that is going to be very different because it's going to expand off of what I've learned in my past, in my household, what I've been already exposed to, which is very individualistic to somebody next to me who's going to experience something different. So even though they teach this basic literacy, even if they did that, how they bring it and integrate it in their life is going to vary household to household, and that can make it a little more difficult. So I think this topic, because of its many layers, is not just not being taught, but it's not even taught on the basic level, and then it's not even taught on the like, what does that even mean? Like, how do I even think about it or integrate in my life?
Yeah, you're so right. Maybe it's just something that's like passed down, like parents aren't talking to their kids about it. So then we just all assume that it's like a taboo topic that we can't talk about. But maybe parents just need to just be out in the open with it and show them
We
this
do.
is this is what our
Absolutely.
budget looks like for the family, right?
My daughters ask me questions, financial questions all the time, and my husband's like, Candace, what are you doing? Like, are you supposed to be talking about that yet? And I'm like, but they're inviting, they want to know. And some of it we're not getting into yet, which is fine, age appropriate, but the conversations are being had.
That's
Hmm.
fantastic. And what I really like about you is, I mean, you're kind of multifaceted. For you, it's not just about the finance piece. You're
Mm-mm.
also a life coach, you're a certified Enneagram practitioner. So you have this integration of self, life, and money. So what
Yes.
does all of that mean for the general public? And why do these three things have to be connected in order for somebody to feel truly financially wealthy?
Yeah, so money doesn't exist on its own. So if we're just talking about money in isolation, I feel like we're missing the true dialogue of what actually it means because each who we are and the life I want to create is different from you and it's different from my friends. So by that standpoint, if I'm not talking about money and developing systems on all three of those working together, I'm only doing it in pieces. So if I'm just making money decisions on its own, that's not going to cut it if it's not supporting the life I want or who I am or my systems that work for me. So it's very hard just to take taboo or like blanket recommendations. We have to start talking about like integrating who am I, what works for me, what am I actually building for my own life, not somebody else's, and then how are my money systems supporting myself. I think you get all three of those, magic happens.
Really nice. I like the combination. I think that's really good. A lot of college students that I'm talking to now, they're seniors in college, they're getting ready to graduate. They have significant debt, and that might be college debt for tuition. I'm seeing a lot of college students get into trouble with gambling on sports. A lot of the guys are really into that now. So, what are a few practical things that students can do while they're still in college in order to improve their financial future?
Yes. So the college, we all know we're all having some fun in college. So we want to just build some good skills, right? So tracking what's coming in, what's going out, trying to make some money in the process. Try to just get that foundation set up. And even if you can end up at ground zero, which is like minimum debt, like I understand student loans, sometimes we can't get away from it, but the other debt we can. And whether it's credit card debt or anything else, try to just keep that down. And if you're earning money, just even if you can start doing like 20%, take 20%. If you have to pay for your other stuff, take 20%, put it in a savings account. Maybe even open up a little an investment account. Just get used to doing the habits. Because as you get out there and start earning more money and you're used to those habits will continue. They'll just continue with bigger dollar amounts, but end on a positive. Don't overthink it. Just do something small. Savings account, open up a mini investment. I don't care if it's $10, $100, $5. I have a funny story for that later on, but something small and learn about it. MSU has great tools for learning about finances in their credit union. I'm sure there's stuff around people can learn about the basics, but don't overthink about it. As far as like kind of getting into like the gambling and things like that, it's always good to have a little fun, but you gotta do in some type of like good proportions, right? So that freedom that we're looking for to do those fun things, that can be there, but that has to be in addition to establishing the good habits.
Yeah, I like those good habits. That's a really good practice to start in college. Whatever income you have in a side job or a side hustle, if you can put a percentage of that into a savings account and just bank that away, I think that is just a great habit to start early. So that way, when you do get into your career and now you're earning a significant paycheck, much more than a part-time job, now it's a full-time job, you just continue with those habits and you automatically have 20% of your money going into savings account. Like this should just be a continuation and a lifelong journey. And you just continue to
Yes.
practice those
And
same
we're
habits.
gonna make mistakes. We're gonna grow in the process. But if you have that one habit down that you're actually saving 20% of your income, there's a lot of mistakes you might be able to make and get away with a little bit better, knowing that that one thing's being done.
Yeah, I like that a
Hmm.
lot.
Yeah.
There are some financial advice that are a little bit more traditional financial literacy programs. And you're incorporating a lot of different things because you're incorporating coaching psychology, behavioral insights into the traditional financial education. So, why do you think that the traditional financial advice approaches sometimes fail?
Because they focus on numbers only.
Mhm.
So numbers will motivate certain people with those personality types that can look at a number and that motivates them. But most of the world doesn't function like that. If they function like that, we'd be in a different system. People would be a lot more savers in general, and that's not showing up nationwide. So I think because the logic is there, the numbers are there, then what happens to the human behavior, the human side of money that actually has to initiate the management of that? And because money touches everything in our life, it's not just driven by one sector. So like I'm going out with my friends. I have bills to pay. I have rent. I mean, I have to save my money. I mean, there's five different layers already that they have to think about and who's talking about how to think about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they need frameworks on how to think about money, how to integrate it to make those good decisions with the tool.
I love it. Fantastic. Now, a lot of college students in their mind, they're very entrepreneurial, Gen Z. You might have noticed this, where a lot of them have ideas for businesses. It could be a product, it could be a service that they want to bring to life. So, for those students who want to start a business or a side hustle, what are some of the big mistakes that you see in your practice that young entrepreneurs are making?
Not taking the idea and executing, so biggest thing is movement. So there's um there's a lot of sponsorships or grants or things like that for people who want to be entrepreneurs, especially college kids with ideas. But now you have to actually go do something about it. And then I think they underestimate communication skills. So you really the idea alone, being able to communicate the offer, the product, the idea, getting it out there, they got to work on their communication skills and movement. And you're going to fail lots of times. You can mess up, mistake, keep going. Just keep
Mhm.
going.
Okay.
Hmm.
Well, there you go. And I've read through your website and a lot of the materials that you put out, and you talk about something that's called the 70-30 rule. So can you explain what the 70-30 rule is and how students can apply it to their own finances?
I think that the 70-30 rule to me is just a good relation of life and balance. It puts me in reality, like a reality check, right? Because we're not striving for perfection. And if we were, we're going to be not motivated in order to do it because we're not going to get there. So 70, it's almost like Weight Watchers. You see that we're like 70% of the time I'm eating well, and then 30% of the time I'm like, okay, I'm going a little bit off the rails here. But I, for the most part, am holding steady. And so if I can build my finances around that, life in general, 70% of the time, if I'm making good habits that are in alignment with what I'm trying to build as a good financial core, then 30% of the time I'm evolving. I can make some mistakes, I'm learning, but I can easily get back to that core. So if it's flip-flop, it's not going to probably work as well. But that if I'm 70% of the time doing those things that really match what I'm supposed to be doing, that 30% is meant to have fun, mistakes, learning, and that's life. I think like I can fit in that reality.
Nice. All right. I think I can accept the 70-30 rule. That makes total sense to me. And what's also interesting about you is that you also speak about women specifically and wealth. Are there specific financial challenges or maybe confidence barriers that you see among young women who are entering adulthood?
Yes. So I think just part of our history and our past plays a part into that as, men have genuinely taken control of the household and the finances. Not saying women can't, but I think that's what we're up against kind of coming into society. But with that said, women are obviously earning their own money. They're making they're having their own careers. I think the confidence factor is a big one. We can do it just as good. We just have to learn. It's not about role definition anymore. It's about what you can do. And the other thing, women are naturally multitaskers and they do tend to take on a lot more roles. So that could be also a hurdle for them. They're going to have to prioritize learning about money.
Yeah. Those stereotypes are so interesting to me because I actually have two kids. I have a son and a daughter. My son, math comes naturally to him. He's just a numbers guy, and that's the language that he speaks and he's comfortable in. He's like a calculus, guru, and
That
that's his
makes sense.
thing, right? And so that just kind of normally fit. And then my daughter comes, a couple of years behind him, and she's great at math too. She gets A's and everything else, but for some reason, probably because of the stereotypes that life just kind of, gives you, she's like, "Oh, I'm not really that good at math." And I'm like, "What do you mean? You've had straight A's in math ever since you were born." You know what I mean? So it's interesting to me to see that that actually still is a thing today.
And what would be more interesting if you would tell me their ages, they have their money personality down already. So my daughter is 12 and she's a giver. She is by naturally giver. She will save her money. She's a saver and she's a giver. She saves it and she spends it on other people. And that gives her the most joy, but I can tell her personality. That's what she's going to be up against is are you doing things for yourself before you're handing it out to other people? My oldest is completely opposite. She's very motivated to get what she wants and she'll save her money for that and she doesn't like to share a whole lot. So it's like it's working within the personality they have is how we're going to manage them very differently.
Yeah, so
Hmm.
interesting to me. So yeah, my son is he's 21, so he has already graduated with an undergraduate degree in data science. He finished in 2.5 years with a 4.0.
Good for
Now he's in
him.
a yeah,
Nice
so now he's
work.
in a master's program. He went straight into cybersecurity. And so, for him, that whole world of numbers and math is something that is just certainly a strong suit. And then, my daughter, she's 18 and she went into poli sci. But again, I think she's perfectly great at math. I think she can do anything that she wants. So she's currently a sophomore at Rice University in
Oh, good.
Houston, Texas. So yeah, so they're both going to be successful. It's so interesting to me how male, female, like there are these, gender roles, I guess, that we put them into when I'm sure there are plenty of brilliant women that could do the math so great, but for some reason, society tells them that they can't possibly be managing the finances of the household. But of course they could.
Yes, they can. They can.
Yes,
And I
they
hope they know
can.
that moving forward. And then the
Totally.
dynamic would be how do you communicate it when you have two people who want to manage the finances together? But I
Right.
think, if you have a good math base, that's just going to work in their favor as they get older. So again, math, knowing the numbers, very helpful to catch on. Now just how they think about it. How they pulled those numbers together to have some meaning.
So when they do get into that relationship, you strongly suggest that they actually have a conversation around finances, right?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Hmm.
And I'm sure that was a great conversation with you and your husband. I'm sure you're like, yes, let's get into this.
Oh, those conversations are the best. That's a podcast in itself, just the
Those are your
dynamic.
favorite conversations with your
Yeah,
husband,
we're
isn't
extremely different. Like I will admit it, I am a spender. I was early on money personality spender, and
it?
he is 100% saver. And so you learn though, you don't avoid who you are.
Mhm.
You know who you are, but you build systems that work. So I knew I had to become a good saver in order to spend and do the things I really wanted to do so I can do it the right way.
Yeah. Well, that's what makes you guys a good fit for each other because you kind of balance each other out, right?
Yes.
So that's good. And I agree. I'm the same way with my wife too. Like I think we balance each other out and we complement each other where one is strong, the other one has, some other skills and together we're really good. So I think that works out.
I like that. That works.
Yeah, it works. It definitely works.
Hmm.
Now, you've worked with plenty of students and young adults who graduate from college and they start their first job. What are maybe their first three financial decisions that they need to get right now that they're in the workforce?
Yeah. So So understand your paycheck for one
Mm.
and what's coming in. As soon as what's coming in, design a game plan. Like, don't let it just come in and sit there. Have some intentional game plan of what you're going to do. So whether it's this is what I'm going to spend, this is what I'm going to save, this just might be excess, just have that awareness around what's happening. Because as soon as you do that, that will actually stem in and lead into other decisions that will start coming down the pipeline, but you're building off that awareness. If you don't have any awareness, those decisions can be just very open at that point.
Okay. I like
Mhm.
it. I think that's very good advice. Is there any financial advice that you would want to give to your 18-year-old self? If you could speak to yourself at 18, what would you tell yourself?
I was thinking about this and I think for me is don't underestimate the power of time.
Ah,
This is a big one. And so I have a funny story. When I went to Michigan State, I was a junior in college, and part of our finance class was we actually had to go research and pick a stock. We all had to do that. And I picked Qualcomm at the time. I don't even know. I just sound really cool to me. And I picked Qualcomm, and I remember thinking nowadays, if I would have put $500 into Qualcomm at that point in time, this is going to give me my age. I don't want to tell my age. Um, it would have been worth 210,000 today.
ah,
hmm
oh,
Now, if I put my $500 in the bank, it would be worth like what, $2,000.
right.
So the the very early, like people are like, oh, it's $100. It's $500. I mean, I bought a Bose speaker system for a little bit more than that in college, so that didn't last me. That didn't last me as long as this money would have lasted me if I invested in Qualcomm.
Yeah.
So I think just start little, like the power of saving and the power of actually getting invested. And that's where a lot of people don't, they'll start saving, but they are afraid to invest. Don't be afraid. You can go into the markets, general markets, things like that. Get used to actually just even investing a little bit. There's apps out there, and see it because you'll learn. You'll learn the habits, you'll learn the feelings around it. It'll make you more interested when you're invested in it. And if you start early, the power of time is going to catch up to you. That
Yep.
compounding interest will really work in your favor.
Yeah, Candice is talking about that compounding interest. That is just absolute magic. And you're so right, too. I think I would have that same conversation with myself. I'd probably say, don't invest in a new car at age 21, because these are depreciating assets. Okay.
Right.
To understand is a
hmm
car is a piece of metal, and it literally, the moment you drive it off the lot, it's already lost a quarter of its value the second you get into the street. Okay. And so this is a depreciating asset. And, yes, I guess I felt like I had earned it because I had graduated from college. And I'm
I
like,
get
of
it.
course, I have to drive a brand new white Mustang and have that, in the
hmm
driveway because I've earned it because I graduated from college. I would have been better off just finding anything, a used car that would get me to work and back. And just invest that money, compounding interest over time, and
hmm
maybe I wouldn't have to work today, had I made
Yeah,
that
I
decision.
I think we all did it, right? So
Uh,
I did the same thing. I had a white Ranger driving around, and I think about all the things I spent my money on, all the things I spent my money on in college.
yeah,
And so it's not saying don't have the experience, don't have fun, do what you need to do, but try to do it together, balance it out. Put a little aside and do that. Do the and word and it will go a lot better.
I love it.
Mhm.
Fantastic. Now, I know you're in Detroit, and I know there's some really good places to eat in your neck of the woods. Where should I be going for a great bite to eat the next time I end up in Detroit?
You know, Gosh, there's so many good restaurants in Detroit. I can't even pick. I'm a big Mexican person. I'm also Middle Eastern, so I like
Yeah.
a lot of Middle Eastern food. So Detroit has a few Mexican restaurants.
Uh-huh.
There's a Selden Standard that a lot of people like in Detroit itself, but you can't go wrong.
Yeah, it's got a good
You're
food
gonna,
scene for
yeah,
sure.
you got some good food around here.
All right, I'm going to take your advice. I'm going to go for Mexican next time I'm in town. So, if our listeners, if they want to connect with you, so that way they can be financially wealthy as well, where should they go to connect with you?
So I have a website. You can just get on my website, join the Financially Wealthy Circle, and then I will send tips and some newsletters on what we're doing. We'll be doing some talking points throughout the year. I offer some coaching classes for 20-year-olds. We'll be starting that online. And so it just depends. We'll be offering some things throughout the year. I do have a book coming out in the fall, so that should help.
That's really good. What's the website URL?
Financiallywealthy.com.
Fantastic. That's
Mhm.
financially wealthy, and she spells it
Yes.
Wellthy. There
Yeah.
you go. So I want to make sure they go to the right website.
Right. Yeah. Come to the wife. Well, be well.
Be
Yes.
well. So financially well and then
Mhm.
thy.com. Go to the website and sign up for all of the things. Watch out for the book that's going to be coming out. But it's really an incredible website for all the students to go and check out. So I hope they do that today. And then, of course, you can reach Candice through the website. Candice, thank you
All are
so
welcome.
much for sharing all of this great information with our college students today.
Thank you.
Of
Glad to be here.
course. Yes. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed this and you learned something from Candace today, which I know that you did, I want you to share this episode with your entire chapter. Drop a link in a group chat or share it on social media. You never know who needs to hear Candace's message today on financial wellness. Thanks so much for being with us, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast.
Thank you,
Bye for
Michael.
now. You got it.